Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be interviewing a very funny comedian who's from the South. Her name is Amanda Goldstein Marks. And I just recently discovered her podcast. She has a podcast with her sister. They talk via Skype. It's called Sis Tell, and it's a really funny podcast. I'm going to have her on the show today. She's a stand-up comedian, and I never really heard of her. I'm going to find out about her and find out about her comedy background and how she got into comedy and how her and her sister decided to start a podcast. And I think it's going to be pretty interesting and pretty cool. We had a nice little Facebook chat the other day when I asked her to be on this program. So we're going to find out. So, here is my interview with Amanda Goldstein Marks. Hi, Allison.
Amanda. Allison's my sister.
Oh, shit. I meant to say Amanda. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I answered to Allison.
I'm
the youngest, so, that always happens.
I'm so sorry. I always get you two mixed up in name.
It's okay. It's better than my mom calling me by the dog's name.
So, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for taking the time today. This is awesome.
Happy to talk.
So, were you always funny growing up?
Oh, yeah. I would get in trouble for talking too much in school and always found my way to a stage and a microphone. So I think my first joke was on the playground when I remember upsetting a friend and she was going to tell on me, so I tried to make her laugh so she wouldn't tell on me. Still my best joke ever, which was, it's very basic. It was just, I would yell penis, and then, and if that didn't make people laugh, I grew the joke to be penis with eyeballs, and it was like a visual gag almost. And if they didn't laugh, it would be penis with eyeballs on roller skates. So that was my go-to joke on the playground. So.
Wow. Do you remember how old you were the first time you saw a penis?
Oh yeah, I went to Jewish sleepaway camp, so you kind of see things at Jewish sleepaway camp that you usually don't see, most kids don't see until they're much older. But I remember, I think I was going into 6th grade, or going into 5th grade, and this kid, he didn't moon me, he sunshined me. And I told him, I threatened him, I said, if you do that again, I'm going to take a picture. So I did. So, so then the film got developed after I got back from camp, and I remember that picture showing up.
Oh my God.
I saw the other camp pictures and being a little horrified that the person who developed the film actually developed that, and was so worried that I was going to get in trouble. I don't remember what I did with the picture. It's probably inside a box somewhere in my parents' attic that's going to be sent to me in the next 10 years when they continue to clean that out.
Oh my God, I wonder if he still remembers it.
If I could remember his name, I would totally find him on Facebook and see if he did.
Oh wow, that sucks not to remember his name.
I think nothing's lost. Nothing's lost there. He was also like one of those kids who it was like Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused, where he always looks like an old dude. You know, like he was like 12, but he looked like he was 18.
Yeah. Wow. So was your family funny also?
Yes, yeah. My brother's probably the funniest one in the family. He's really subtle, dry sense of humor.
Yeah, that's
and in the 80s, my dad got this really clunky video camera.
Mm-hmm.
So my brother decided he wanted to make all these videos. So, and I was 5 years younger than him, but he still wanted to play with me because I wanted to be in front of the camera. So he would have friends over and we would set up all these scenarios. It was a lot of fake news. It was like, what's the segment on SNL with the news? Weekend Update. We would do like Weekend Update.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot of weather reports, and then one time my dad made a cameo as a wanted convict. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I was growing up, I mean, my family still is funny, but when I was growing up, I was always dressing up as like my favorite movie stars and my favorite like comedians around the house and stuff. That's how I knew I wanted to perform.
Yeah, my brother, I would say, was a heavy influence on my music and introducing me to like the Beastie Boys and De La Soul and all sorts of the Daisy Age hip hop and old school hip hop like Run DMC. But I also have a memory of him listening to this Billy Crystal cassette tape, and he had memorized it and would act it out. And so I remember, and evidently when he was in high school, he tried stand-up. He'd go to open mics. I had no idea. I don't know how he got into the open mics at age 17, but he did it.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch stand-up when you were a kid?
I actually remember going to see, I think it was Eddie Murphy's Raw when I was like in maybe 6th grade. It was like the midnight showing. I spent the night at my friend's house, and her parents were from abroad and less strict than most, and they took us to go see that R-rated the stand-up special that Eddie Murphy did. I remember watching a lot of really like sketch comedy, watching SNL. We didn't have cable growing up. We didn't get cable until the Gulf War broke out. So I grew up really watching a lot of reruns of bad television and a lot of like James Bond marathons and PBS specials and infomercials, which I love a good infomercial. But yeah. I remember when I was 15, after we'd gotten cable, watching a really old stand-up of Steve Martin, and he's playing the banjo. You know, he's like a fantastic banjo player.
Yep.
And I remember watching him and just being in awe, being like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. And I know you think I'm saying get on a stage and tell jokes, but what I took away from that was I want to learn how to play banjo. So I taught myself. I got a banjo.
Nice.
And I got myself this VHS tape and tried to teach myself how to play this song, this bluegrass song called Burn My Cabbage Down. And I took one lesson from an actual banjo teacher, and I was like terrible. I'm not musically inclined. And then I took the banjo with me to college. And I grew up in Alabama, so I ended up being like that stereotype of the person from Alabama who came with a banjo on her knee.
Nice. Yeah, I have no musical talent whatsoever. My dad was in a band when I was a kid. He was in a rock band. They were terrible.
Well, that's cool, though. Did he ever let you on stage and to play anything, or did you go to all his shows?
I went to maybe one of his shows, but I heard many of his rehearsals in the house or the space that they rented and stuff, and it wasn't that fun, but it was good to get out of the house at least.
Right. But is that who you got your performance bug from?
I wouldn't say I got it entirely from my dad, but I'm like the only one in the family who had any desire to be a performer. Although my mom did dance, and she was almost a dancer on the Dean Martin show after she got out of high school.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird and unique situation about how I got into performing. But yeah. So did you watch? So did you? Oh yeah. Who were your favorite comedians growing up?
Um, I mean, it was people who were on television with their own shows. I mean, again, I was watching reruns. I loved Carol Burnett. I
Mm-hmm.
would say she was. I mean, I started off with like an obsession with Annie, with the original movie they did, and Carol Burnett was in that, and then she had the Carol Burnett show, and I loved her and all her characters, and I mean, I think a lot of stand-ups do have stand-up comedians that they love and idolize, but for me, when I think of comedians, I think of the character actors, like
Mm-hmm.
Kristen Wiig, you know.
Oh yeah. Those were your major influences.
Hey, you know, life was more of my influence.
So what was the trajectory you were on? Like, what did you want to do after high school besides get drunk?
So really in high school, I figured out that I wanted to go into kids television.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to do creative development. I wanted to create kids shows. So I went to Boston University, and I have an undergraduate degree in film and TV. But all my studies, I kind of catered towards concentrating on kids TV, and I had internships accordingly. And then when I went to NYU for graduate school, and I was in the Gallatin School for Individualized Study, where basically you pitch what you want to do to the admissions board. You're creating your own program based off of there not being any other place in the world for you to study this. So I pitched wanting to get my master's in kids media, which I did, and I interned at Sesame Workshop, which was like a dream to be able to do that. I was in the development department and got to go visit the set and see some Muppets. I got to see they were shooting Elmo's World, and Kevin Clash was there, and it was really neat. And then got married, and we moved to Albuquerque, where my husband grew up, and we were there for about 7 months and decided to leave. But during that time, I was really involved in the film and TV scene from a production background. But I quickly realized that I didn't like the hierarchy of a production set. Everyone's really mean to the production assistants, and it gave me just such an icky feeling. And I really just wanted to be in front of the camera, and somehow I've finagled my way in front of the camera, usually as an extra every time I was on the set. And but I didn't pursue anything, and I didn't even think of stand-up. That wasn't even. I just never. I guess I always thought of stand-up as being like these, slick-looking guys in New York who talk like this, and they have jokes that are offensive. Like the Andrew Dice Clays of the world. Like to me, that was stand-up, right? And it was not a place I ever thought I would be. And in high school, starting in 7th grade, I started auditioning for plays. No one wanted me. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, and I was like this awkward-looking Jewish girl with frizzy hair and who's loud and liberal and dressed differently, and no one wanted me in their plays.
Yeah.
I tried out for then I was like maybe improv, and I took acting classes, and I tried out for improv in college. No one wanted me. And then I don't know. I always I took an acting for sketch class about 6 years ago, and it was just another improv class, and I felt like I was just playing games. It's like playing pretend, and it just didn't feel like a fit, and it felt like I've done this before. my friend Mike said, hey, I'm taking this stand-up class. You should take it with me. And I was like, no, that sounds scary. And being on stage is not a scary thing to me, but having to write my own content seemed like an impossible feat. And for it to be funny, right? Like, I knew I could write, like, funny Facebook posts, and I knew, like, I could be at a party and make people laugh. But the idea of, like, everything focused on me for 5 minutes and me being in control of that was scary. But he finished his class, and then he said, you should still do it. And I did. I took a class, and it was like paying to be a part of a writer's group. And the teacher gave us, like, writing assignments. We'd come to class, and then we'd workshop. We'd workshop material and our performance. And then after 8 weeks, we performed in front of 300 people. And for graduation, and it was 5 minutes of material, and it was the best feeling. Of course, the audience was stacked with friends and family who were only there to be supportive, so it's like a false sense of being funny. But I've just, that first year after that, I had only performed probably like 3 or 4 times, and it was in book shows. I never did open mics. They freaked me out. And then my friend Jen wanted to get into comedy, and I didn't know her. She actually was introduced by a common friend we had, and she started off a show, and then she started doing open mics. And I'm a mom. I've got 3 kids, and she's got 2 kids, and I was like, well, she's doing this. I can do it. Maybe I need to do that. I need to go to open mics. So I did, and then I just started booking more shows, and I do a lot of private shows around the country for like nonprofit Jewish organizations, which is that's my sweet spot. Old Jewish people love me. They think I'm hilarious.
Yeah.
So, hoping to get to South Florida. Maybe I'll get a standing ovation there.
What year did you start doing it?
So, like 4 years ago? 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago, March of, I've got to find, somewhere I've got like a YouTube video of my first performance. And as, some people do and do not, but I use that as how long have I been doing this for? I'm trying to pull it up. Let's see. And I know we probably have to edit out this dead time.
No, it's okay.
I can't remember. I'm scrolling to try and find that video. Here, 4 years ago. But I want to say, which is really not that long ago. This was posted. This is not. So I think March of 2014. So almost 5 years ago.
Wow.
Is when I first got on stage.
I started in June of 2006, and I had my car accident in January of 2015, which will be 4 years coming up. Yeah, wow. That's amazing.
Wow. Was it a bad car accident?
Yeah, pretty bad. This asshole that I was hanging out with for the last 4 years fell asleep at the wheel while I was sleeping in the car after we came back from San Francisco from drinking, and I got the worst of the injuries. I mean, I should have been dead, but thank God I wasn't.
Did you have your seatbelt on?
Yep.
Wow, that's really scary. How long were you? So were you in the hospital?
I was in a coma for 30 days, and I was in the hospital 5 months. Yeah.
Do people? So you suffered a brain injury?
Surprisingly, no. I mean, sometimes I think I'm brain dead because certain things it takes me a while to remember now, which is ironic because I had a learning disorder in school where it took me a while to get certain things. But, yeah, no, I didn't get a brain injury.
So were you in a medically induced coma?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, I lost consciousness and everything.
Yeah, that's really scary.
Yeah. it made me want to pursue show business instead of being an alcoholic. After that, I was an alcoholic for a few years leading up to that, and my liver was damaged, and so I can't drink now. But it changed my perspective on life. I mean, everything I've been learning for the last 4 years about show business, like, it was shit that I was already doing, but didn't even know it in the Bay Area when I was like hanging out in the bars and stuff. I learned about, just, socializing and, bullshitting people pretty much.
Is that, where do you get your material from? What's your best material?
It's all about sex.
Mm-hmm.
It's about sex and just random shit.
That, but like I would say my best material, and not like thematic wise, but like where it originates is based off of like conversations I'm having with people, and they start laughing at something, and I write that down. So I turn it into a set.
Yeah.
That's been my best stuff.
Yeah, just anything that comes out into my mind, pretty much.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I moved over here to Redding, California, where there's no stand-up comedy, and there's nothing over here. I needed to help my mom pay the rent while she was living over here and stuff. We're trying to move to LA now, and I want to pursue things over there and stuff. And
how far away is Redding from LA?
6 hours.
Oh, that's a chunk of time.
Yeah.
You grew up in Redding?
No, I grew up in San Francisco.
Okay.
No, I would have.
Very, very pretty over there.
I probably would have hung myself if I grew up in Redding.
Oh, no.
It's a very conservative redneck town. Like, no one here has a sense of humor. Everyone here's a jerk.
Does not sound like a great place to be. I think that most people's perception of California, though, is like liberal and hippy-dippy.
Yeah.
Not how you describe Redding.
Nope. It's probably the most conservative part of California.
Do you have a timeline of when you're going to move to LA?
No, it all depends on money and stuff, because it's expensive to live out there. And
yeah.
I've been trying to move there since I was 18, but just, things went down differently that prevented me from doing it.
Right.
And stuff.
Well, it's never too late to start anew. I mean, I totally changed my career. I was in marketing and branding and working for digital ad agencies and stuff, and then left to figure out what I wanted to do and take care of my kids, and was like, I'm going to do comedy. And I'm, just now trying to pivot my career to do more like content creation and comedy and my podcast. And so it's never too late to do something new.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the podcast, because that's how I discovered you not too long ago.
I think you discovered me because of belly buttons. That's my understanding.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
So for people listening, Tommy sent me a note on Facebook asking me to be on the podcast, and that he thought my podcast was funny, and I was curious to know how he found us. And he said he was. You say, Tommy, how did you find us?
I was looking for a podcast that talked about belly buttons, and yours was one of the searches.
Did anyone else come up? Are we the only podcast that talks about belly buttons, or does someone else talk about belly buttons?
There was a couple people that did. It wasn't a whole. I was looking for like a whole podcast to see if that would be the subject, and it wasn't. It was just random mentions of it and stuff.
Right. Oh, you're hoping that someone would have like a dedicated podcast, like every episode's about belly buttons?
Yeah. I mean, I've done a couple of them.
Oh, there's a podcast about everything now.
I know, it's oversaturated.
Right. It's getting to be where blogs is. You know?
Yeah.
Blogs are.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of comedians with podcasts. I was not sure what category. So I have a podcast I do with my sister, Allison Goldstein Marks. It's called Sis Tell.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a weekly half-hour comedic podcast that is really, I'd say, character-driven, right? It's not, we talk about everything. We talk about pop culture and parenting and my boobs and belly buttons and we don't really plan what we're going to talk about. A minute before we start, we're like, what are we going to talk about? And then someone's like, oh, yeah, I have a good story. And then we just start from there and see where the conversation goes. It's like, I try to explain it to people like, did you ever listen to Car Talk?
No.
So Car Talk, do you know about Car Talk?
I've heard about it, yeah. Cars bore me.
It's on like NPR. It's a show by these two brothers in Boston named Click and Clack. One of them passed away. But it's about cars. People would call in and tell them their problems, but it was more cars is the B line, right? The B storyline. It's more about the brothers interacting with each other and whoever called in. And that's really what the heart of it was. And I say it's the same thing with Sis Tell. It's more about the interaction between me and Allison than it is about whatever we're talking about. Because we can go off on ridiculous things. Like we get very upset about emotional support animals. We could talk about that for hours. And we're also stalking Courtney Cox. That's an ongoing theme. And but. Our season 4 launches this Friday. I'm not sure when this podcast is coming out, but what is today? So January 10th. Is that Friday? Whatever Friday it is, that's when season 4 comes out for us.
Nice. How long you two plan on doing it for?
She's locked in with me for at least 18 years. That's the deal.
That's a long time.
I tricked her into doing the podcast with me. So my sister is 7 years older than me. So,
wow,
when I was like 8, she's 15. She was a teenager. She wanted nothing to do with me. She wanted to be with her friends. So she basically ignored me throughout our entire childhood. Mm-hmm. And she's spent ever since like making it up to me. So we talk all the time, and we decided one day we should, we are so amused with ourselves because we're our best audience, and so we're like, we should record this and turn it into a podcast. So that's what we did. Within like a week, we kind of like came up with our own to-do list, and she created a website, and I investigated RSS feeds and how to upload, and I'm in charge of like promotion, and she's in charge of editing, and I create all you found the little, I do promotional videos. I do like 30-second to 2-minute promotional videos of each episode. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you found on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so, and those, those have done really well for us for promotion. We've gotten a lot of random opportunities because of those.
Yeah, I figured maybe you two were like a year apart,
It's hard to tell. And we both look really young for our age.
Oh, so any chance of you two ever being in the same room someday?
Recording our podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, we one time we were, she lives in Chattanooga and I'm in Atlanta, but we were in Birmingham for probably like Thanksgiving or some holiday, and we had to record the podcast, and so we hid in the closet to try and record it, and we couldn't do it in the same room. It was so, like, because we kept on laughing, and we couldn't do it. It was just different. There's something about our phone conversations that I think just make it a little, I don't know, just adds a little moment to it. And that's what we want our listeners to experience. We want it to feel like they're listening in on our conversation. So if you don't have a sister, we could be your sisters. The Southern Jewish sisters you always wanted, or never wanted, and now you have.
I love it. Oh my God, love it. That's so awesome. I'm so glad. Yeah.
We do talk about, so I do private stand-up comedy shows for Jewish organizations. And Allison does, amongst all the things, she hosts a show for the state of Tennessee's PBS called The A-List. Mm-hmm. It's an interview-style TV show. But she also does, like, motivational speaking events across the United States. So a lot like TED Talks, you know? So
yeah.
She's just a fantastic speaker. But we're trying to come up with a stage show. So speaking of us being in the same room, so we're in the middle of, I wouldn't say it's pre-production, I would say it's pre-production of of what the stage show would be. But it's kind of combining comedy with storytelling and the podcast. But it's not like a live podcast record, but it's, you know, a little hat tip to it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so
trying
so
trying
great.
to figure that out right now and hoping that we'll be able to launch our first stage show in about 6 months.
Nice. How far do you want to go in your comedy career?
I love stand-up comedy. I love being on stage, but I don't have, like, I'm not, like, trying to be a nationally touring comedian. Mm-hmm. I'd much rather, I'm happy keeping it regional, you know, regional and small. I love the intimacy of a smaller room, but mm-hmm. I would love to be in front of the camera. I would love to host my own show, like a TLC show, you know, like an HGTV. I'd love to be an on-camera host for something. And I have a TV and film agent for, you know, commercials and TV and film auditions. And I've gotten a lot of great auditions. I just haven't been booked on anything. So I'm hoping this is the year. And, you know, I actually start an acting class next week. And one of the things that the teacher talks about in the description of the class is taking acting from stage to film, which I have a hard time with because I've got a super big personality and I'm very animated. Mm-hmm. And stand-up comedy, that works. But when you're auditioning or acting on camera, it's a totally different medium, and I've really had to try and control myself to be a lot smaller, which my hair can't be smaller. I've got a lot of hair, a lot of curly hair, but I've got to be smaller, but still have your personality come out. So it's hard. And again, I'm old. I'm an old dog learning new tricks. So hopefully that'll turn into something. But I'm not you know, part of the reason why I do my podcast, and I have a web series called Mom Cam in the Minivan, and I do my stand-up comedy, and I do those things because it's like, I don't know about you, but it's like I feel like I can control it, right?
Right.
And I think before I started doing comedy, stand-up comedy, one of the things I was afraid of was like the not being in control, which is the scariness of being, you know, it being all about you. But then, and not knowing what was going to happen, but at the same time, you are in charge. You're not sharing the stage with anyone. You're creating your content.
Right.
You decide, there's so many open mics out there. You decide how often you get up and how hard you want to work to improve yourself and your writing and your performance. It's all up to you.
Right.
And I think, I'm sure you've been, and someone said to me, have you ever bombed before? And I'm like, if you haven't bombed, you haven't been performing long enough.
Yeah.
It happens. And the audience, I am not intimidated by the audience. I'm not afraid of bombing. I am afraid of other comedians.
Yeah.
I am more intimidated by a 23-year-old comedian than I am by 2,300 audience members. It's strange, and I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I've always been like an innately confident person, and feeling so unconfident around other comedians, it's really difficult. It's hard. And it's icky. I don't like it. I don't like that feeling of. Feels like high school. Like I'm worried about what they think. Do they think I'm funny? Do they think I work hard enough? What should I be doing what they're doing? You know. So I'm trying to come up with my own goals. So I'm more worried about my goals and not what the other people's goals are.
Yeah, I did too much of that for years. Oh my God, I had to deal with so many asshole comedians in the Bay Area. I still am. Now they're jumping on the Me Too bandwagon and making all these false stories up about me because they fucking hate me and shit. It really sucks.
Cool. That's tough.
Yeah. It's all right though because I know who my true friends are and they know me and they know who I am and shit. So I'm just ignoring it and just working on my own shit. I want to be a late night horror host, and I wanted to start one in the Bay Area. I still can, but just right now it's really tough because of scheduling and everything. But eventually I want to do that. That's like my main goal.
Yeah. Was that so? It would be you'd do host like a live. It would be about horror films, and you would host a horror film festival or a horror night at a venue, or what is? Tell me more about that.
Oh well, I don't know if they had these where you grow up, but they had these late night horror shows on UHF stations late at night where somebody presents a classic horror movie.
Elvira.
Yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried. Yes.
Yes. Oh my God, I do a really good Gilbert Gottfried impression.
Oh no.
Oh, I do the best.
Let's hear it.
Now, I had heard that Dustin Hoffman is extremely difficult to work with. In fact, I had heard that Dustin Hoffman likes to ask his personal assistant for a foot massage.
That's really good.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, God, I do so many impressions. Yeah.
So when I went to, right after I graduated from BU, there was a casting call for, it was like at the UP. Do you remember UPN? I don't even know if that channel still exists.
Oh,
it was like this.
It kind of does, yeah.
So the UPN affiliate in Boston was doing a casting call for a host of it wasn't horror movies, but it was like those C movies, you know, and I auditioned for it, and then we had to write our own material, and I got, it was like between me and this one other guy, and they ended up telling me that I was more of a fit for Nickelodeon.
Oh my God.
He was a stand-up comedian. And you would think at a certain point I would have been like, I should try stand-up comedy, because all these things were pointing towards stand-up. But it took me a long time to figure it out.
Oh my God, that's both an insult and a compliment. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What's your favorite joke of all time?
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
Like one of my jokes or someone else's?
Someone else's.
Oy. Oh my God, I'm going blank. I can't even. I don't know. I have no idea. You know, I've always been one of those people who, people are like, what are your favorite color? And I'm like, I don't have one. What's your favorite movie? I don't have one. It just changes. It depends on my mood, you know? I can tell you that I prefer The State over Kids in the Hall.
Oh, yeah.
I could tell you what my favorite Beastie Boys album is, but I don't think I have a favorite joke. There's not after this call, I'm going to be like, I know, that joke.
Okay, here's a couple of my favorites. This one, Eddie Murphy said it to a couple of 13-year-olds in the front row in his Delirious special. A bear and a rabbit are taking a shit in the woods. The bear says to the rabbit, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a problem with shit sticking to your fur?" The rabbit says no. So the bear wiped his ass with the rabbit. Yeah, then the rabbit died from the stink.
That's not a very nice bear.
No, the rabbit died from the stink.
Oh, yeah. Bear poop smells pretty bad.
And now, there's this one, oh my God, I tell everyone this one, and they just love it. Cinderella is about to go to the ball, and she's on her period. So the fairy godmother gives her these magic tampons and says, "You have to be home by midnight or else they'll turn into a pumpkin." And Cinderella says, "Okay, fairy godmother, I will." So 12:30 rolls around. Fairy godmother is pacing around the house because Cinderella hasn't shown up. And then she does show up at 4 a.m. and she's stumbling drunk. And the fairy godmother is like, Where were you? You're supposed to be home by midnight." And Cinderella's like, "I'm so sorry, fairy godmother. I met this great guy and we danced all night. His name was Peter Peter."
That's really good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You should see my face when I say it. I do this little smirk after the punchline to like tell you it's time to laugh.
So there's this joke I knew when I was 12, and I can't remember all of it, but I'll tell you that the punchline was a visual gag that was me with a shoe in front of my crotch to make it look like there was a guy stuck inside of, like a whole person stuck inside me, and with his just shoe sticking out, right?
Yeah.
And I was 12, and I knew this joke, and we were on a trip to Israel, like this family trip with all these families we didn't know, like 45 people, and people were telling jokes in front of everyone. So I got up and I told this joke with the punchline being with the shoe in front of my crotch, making it look like someone was stuck inside my body. And no one laughed, and my parents were very embarrassed. But I've been kind of like, they've been worried about what was going to come out of my mouth ever since I was really little, because I was always very precocious and would point out things about people. I was always roasting people without meaning to roast people.
You're wisecracking.
I would say, like, you look very old to have such young children.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So, and still, my parents, they've come to my shows, but and my mom thinks that I'm a dirty comedian because I use the word pubic in my act, and I'm like, that is so tame compared to other comedians you don't even know.
Yeah. I've offended a lot of people, I'll tell you.
Well, I think I only offended my mom the time I called my hair pubic, but I'm like, the old Jewish people love it, Mom. I think we're okay.
Oh, boy. Well, Amanda, I thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me on.
Yes, I'd love to have you on again and we can talk more in depth about our belly buttons.
Oh, yes. Mine's about 2.5 matzo balls deep.
Yeah, mine goes all the way to my knuckle. Oh, my God.
That's pretty deep. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, even after all my surgeries I had from the accident, it's still pretty deep. I mean, it's a little tighter now, but still deep.
Oh, belly button reconstruction surgery. I've looked into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I even wrote a horror story about it.
The belly button that ate the world.
Not exactly, but it's actually one where the outie belly button becomes alive and it like gives a guy a blowjob.
Ooh, outie belly buttons, man, they're slutty.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that next time. But thank you.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you so much, Amanda, and I promise I will get your name right next time.
Yeah. Amanda, and you can find our podcast at sisandtell.com.
Yes, I will listen.
All right, thanks, Tommy.
Thanks, Amanda. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Well, there you have it. Amanda Goldstein Marks. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Amanda. I love your Southern Jewish hospitality. You are very funny, very sweet. You have great stories, and I think you will go far. And I will continue listening to your podcast. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!